There are some athletes that from the moment you see them, it seems like winning would complete them. From the outside, the equation looks almost mathematical. Talent meets discipline, discipline produces victory, and victory delivers fulfillment. The crowd screams, the medals accumulate, and the athlete becomes a symbol of strength, focus, and control. Yet an uncomfortable contradiction sits beneath that narrative. Many of the athletes who reached the highest levels of success experienced a kind of emptiness that no victory could resolve. The pressure that built them into champions also narrowed their identity until winner became the only version of who they were. When that identity cracked through scandal, decline, or personal struggle, there was very little left to hold on to. But what makes these stories more unsettling is not just how they lived, it is how they are remembered. While they were alive, they were criticized, questioned, and often reduced to their lowest moments. After their deaths, those same lives are reassembled into something cleaner and more complete than they ever felt in real time. To understand this tension between achievement and fulfillment, we begin with a cyclist who conquered the hardest races in the world before losing himself in the aftermath. Marco Pantani was not simply a champion, but a figure who represented something emotional within cycling. In 1998, he won both the Giro d'Italia and the Tour de France in the same year, a rare achievement that placed him among the most dominant riders in history. But statistics alone do not explain his impact. Pantani rode with urgency rather than caution. While others calculated, he attacked. Fans did not just watch him to see if he would win, but to experience how he would try. His style turned him into a cultural symbol in Italy, where he was embraced as both athlete and personality. However, the sport he competed in was already under suspicion. Cycling in the late 1990s was deeply entangled with doping controversies, and even the most brilliant performances were viewed with doubt. Pantani's victories were celebrated, but never completely trusted. That tension reached its breaking point in 1999. While leading the Giro d'Italia, he failed a hematocrit test and was removed from the race. The decision did not just cost him a title, it reframed his entire career. What had been admired as brilliance was now questioned. The aftermath extended beyond the suspension. Investigations and legal scrutiny reinforced the idea that his success was tied to a compromised system. Regardless of the details, the damage to his identity was severe. He was no longer the romantic hero of cycling, but a symbol of its controversy. He withdrew from competition and struggled with depression as his sense of purpose collapsed. Without the structure of racing, he faced a version of himself that no longer had a clear identity. In that absence, he turned to cocaine as an escape. By February 2004, Pantani was living in isolation. He was found dead in a hotel room at 34, the result of acute cocaine poisoning. At the time, his legacy remained complicated. His final years were defined more by absence than celebration. Yet the years that followed told a different story. Public perception shifted as his career was re-examined. Rather than focusing only on controversy, many began to see him as a product of an era that had failed its athletes. His style, once overshadowed, became a symbol of authenticity. In Italy, this transformation was unmistakable. Roads were named after him, documentaries revisited his life, and his image returned with a reverence that had been absent before his death. Recognition in life was fragile. Recognition after death became permanent. A similar transformation can be seen in the life of Diego Maradona, whose career combined extraordinary talent with visible struggle. His rise from poverty to global stardom reached its peak during the 1986 World Cup, where he delivered performances that remain among the most celebrated in football history. The 2 goals he scored against England captured the contradiction that defined him. One was controversial, the other widely considered one of the greatest ever scored. Together, they revealed a player capable of both imperfection and brilliance. At Napoli, his influence expanded further. He transformed the club into champions and became a symbol of identity for the city. For many, he represented more than football. He embodied pride and defiance, but that level of expectation proved unsustainable. Maradona's life off the pitch became increasingly unstable as he struggled with addiction and pressure. The image of a national hero was difficult to maintain, and the gap between expectation and reality continued to widen. By the early 1990s, the consequences became unavoidable. Suspensions, failed drug tests, and his expulsion from the 1994 World Cup complicated his legacy. He was no longer seen only as a genius, but as a figure defined by both brilliance and controversy. In the years that followed, his struggles remained public. Health issues and repeated relapses created a narrative that was difficult to reconcile with his earlier dominance. While he remained famous, the consistency of admiration faded. When he died in 2020, the global response revealed how quickly perception can shift. Argentina declared national mourning, and millions participated in tributes. His image reappeared in murals and documentaries, often emphasizing his greatness while softening the controversies. This recognition did not create new achievements. It reorganized existing ones into a clearer narrative. While he was alive, his identity was contested, but after his death, it became unified. The life of George Best shows what happens when talent and identity collapse into a single fragile structure. By 1968, he had helped Manchester United win the European Cup and became one of the youngest Ballon d'Or winners. His ability made the game appear effortless, but his influence extended beyond football. He became one of the first players to embody celebrity culture, attracting attention that went far beyond the pitch. His identity expanded into something larger than sport. That expansion carried pressure. Maintaining both performance and persona became unsustainable, and alcohol emerged as a coping mechanism that shaped the later stages of his life. Unlike many athletes, his decline was public. Discipline issues and inconsistent performances shifted the narrative from admiration to disappointment. He was still recognized for his talent, but increasingly remembered for what he could no longer sustain. By the 1990s, the physical consequences were severe. Illness and visible deterioration replaced the vitality that had once defined him. Media coverage focused on decline rather than achievement. When he died in 2005, the response marked a clear shift. Massive crowds gathered and tributes emphasized his brilliance. His legacy was reaffirmed with a clarity that had been absent in his final years. The same life once seen as a fall from greatness was reframed as the story of a tragic genius. A quieter transformation can be seen in the story of Garrincha, whose recognition arrived later than his achievements. During Brazil's World Cup victories in 1958 and 1962, his dribbling and creativity made him one of the most influential players on the field. His style introduced a level of unpredictability that distinguished him from others. Yet his global recognition did not always match his impact. Part of this was due to the presence of more widely promoted figures, which limited how his story was told internationally. His life outside football further complicated his legacy. Alcoholism, financial instability, and injuries contributed to a decline that shortened his career and reduced his visibility. Without the structure of football, his life gradually moved into obscurity. When he died in 1983, recognition remained uneven. In Brazil, he was celebrated. Globally, his legacy was less defined. Over time, this changed. Documentaries and historical analysis allowed new audiences to see his performances, leading to a re-evaluation of his place in football history. Today, he is widely regarded as one of the greatest dribblers the game has produced. This recognition arrived largely after his death. When these stories are considered together, a consistent pattern emerges. Each athlete achieved extraordinary success, yet that success fused their identity to performance in a way that left them vulnerable when it declined. During their lifetimes, recognition was unstable and often shaped by failure as much as achievement. After their deaths, that instability faded. Their careers were reassessed within a broader context, and their most significant contributions became the focus. These reinterpretations do not change what happened. They change what is remembered. The broader implication is not that success lacks value, but that recognition follows its own logic. At the highest level of sport, winning can create visibility and admiration, but it does not guarantee fulfillment. The identity built around victory can become restrictive, especially when it leaves no space for life beyond it. Posthumous recognition simplifies that identity.